It was supposed to be just another uneventful day at Greenwood Heights Elementary, tucked in the quiet forests of northern Oregon, where I lived growing up. The school was new at the time, a shiny beacon of fresh brick and mortar amid a sea of towering pines. I still remember the excitement of being part of the inaugural class. There's even a plaque in the school with my name on it, something I'm still unsure whether to find cool or a bit creepy, considering how kids probably see it now and think I'm a ghost haunting the halls. Anyway, back to the story. It was recess, one of the last few before the chill of winter would trap us indoors. We were in the middle of a kickball game, all of us enjoying that innocent thrill of scoring runs when something strange happened. "Look over there," my friend Sam called out, his voice breaking the rhythm of our game. I followed his gaze toward the edge of the woods. And there they were. Two small bear cubs, as curious about us as we were about them, huddled near the chain link fence. I felt a weird mixture of excitement and fear bubbling up inside. I mean, it wasn't every day you saw bears at school. "Are those dot bears?" I whispered, more to myself than anyone else. But soon enough, more kids noticed, gathering in a loose circle as we stood there, some whispering, others just staring in silence. Jane, the girl I usually sat next to in class, tugged on my sleeve, her eyes wide. "What do we do?" Before I could answer, one of the recess monitors, Mrs. Hayes, strode over with her usual air of authority. One look at the cubs and her face paled. "Everyone inside, now!" she barked, waving her arms urgently. It was like a switch flipped inside me. Fear, the real kind, hit hard. The air became thick with tension as the teachers hustled us toward the building, shutting the door behind us. From the window, I saw the bear cubs staring back at us, and then they disappeared into the woods. The school went into lockdown, and we all huddled together in our classroom. Our teacher, Mrs. Anderson, tried to keep us calm with her steady voice, but there was an undeniable shift in the air. My heart raced, the silence in the room louder than the usual chatter. "Do you think they'll get in?" Sam asked, his voice trembling. I shook my head. "No, they've got animal control. They'll be fine." But I wasn't sure I believed it. I had this unsettling feeling, as if the walls weren't quite enough to protect us. After what felt like hours but was probably just an afternoon, they announced that the bears had been safely captured with, of all things, Krispy Kreme donuts. Yeah, you heard that right. Donuts. I didn't know if I should laugh or feel even more on edge. The woods, which had always felt like a safe backdrop to our daily lives, suddenly felt wilder, more dangerous. But that wasn't the end. A few weeks later, we had another lockdown. I was in class when the familiar sound of the lockdown alarm blared through the halls. This time, though, the fear hit different. You could tell something was wrong just by the way the teachers were acting. Doors were slammed shut, blinds drawn tight, and we were told to sit down and stay quiet. The whole class fell into an uneasy silence, the kind that wraps around you like a heavy blanket. My mind raced with possibilities, and I couldn't shake the memory of those bear cubs. "What's going on this time?" Jane whispered beside me. I didn't have an answer, but my gut told me it was something worse. Minutes passed, or maybe it was an hour. Time felt strange when you were holding your breath, waiting for something to happen. Then, Mrs. Anderson's phone buzzed on her desk. Her eyes went wide, and I saw her hand tremble as she picked it up. She whispered something into the receiver, her face pale, before hanging up. "Stay calm," she said, her voice too tight to be reassuring. There's an animal in the building, but everything is under control." Under control? An animal in the building? My heart started racing. I glanced over at Sam, who looked like he was about to bolt for the door. "I swear, if it's another bear," he muttered. But it wasn't. Later, I found out what had really happened. A mountain lion had walked right through the front door, just strolled into the school as if it owned the place. The receptionist had seen it, and she'd immediately put the school on lockdown. Animal control was called, but it took hours for them to lure the thing back outside. I remember sitting there in the classroom, my heart pounding, imagining the big cat just beyond the walls. The thought of it prowling the hallways sent chills down my spine. What if it had come to our classroom? What would we have done? I don't remember much else from that day, other than the deep, gnawing unease that had settled into my bones. I think everyone felt it. this creeping sense that our safe little world wasn't as secure as we'd once thought. After that, it was like the woods weren't just trees anymore. They were a threat, something wild and unpredictable, always lurking at the edges of our lives. And here's the kicker. When I got home that night, all I could think about was how we missed out on playing our new GameCube game before bed because of the lockdown. Strange what sticks with us, right? I was sitting in Mr. Thompson's math class at Maplewood Academy, my mind wandering between equations and daydreams. Suddenly, a sound pierced the air, an unfamiliar bell echoing through the hallways. It wasn't the usual end-of-period chime. This one felt ominous, almost haunting. Confusion swept over the classroom like a dark cloud, and whispers began to ripple through my classmates. "What's that?" I asked, turning to my friend Sarah, who was scribbling notes at lightning speed. "That's the lockdown bell," she replied, her voice trembling. My stomach dropped. Lockdowns weren't something we practiced regularly in our suburban school nestled in the heart of Ohio. I glanced at Mr. Thompson, who had quickly checked his email, his face draining of color as he read the urgent message urging us to initiate lockdown protocols. "All right, everyone, lights off. Close the blinds," he commanded, his voice shaky. As we scrambled to obey, I felt a mix of fear and disbelief. This had to be a drill, right? Surely, it was just a prank. But deep down, an unsettling feeling gnawed at me. Just as I was about to slide down to the corner of the room, a loud bang echoed against the classroom door. My heart raced. "Who is it?" I called out, the words spilling from my lips before I could stop myself. "Relax, it's just Liam. I went to the bathroom," came the voice from the other side. Relief washed over me as Mr. Thompson unlocked the door and let Liam in. He was wide-eyed, his breath quick and shaky. I heard the bell and got screamed at to come back. As the door clicked shut behind him, I couldn't shake the tension in the room. The lights were off, and a chilling silence enveloped us. Mr. Thompson locked the door and hastily covered the window with paper, a gesture that felt unnecessary yet crucial. "Is this really happening?" I whispered to Sarah, who was clutching her phone tightly. "I think so," she replied, her eyes darting around the room. "But why? It doesn't make sense." The bell rang again, echoing through the empty halls, but Mr. Thompson held his ground. "Stay down, everyone. We can't take any chances," he said firmly, his voice trembling slightly. Time felt distorted. After what felt like an eternity, the bell finally stopped. But Mr. Thompson kept us sitting in silence. Anxiety hung heavy in the air, and the weight of uncertainty pressed down on my chest. "What's going on out there?" Liam murmured, breaking the silence. "I don't know," I replied, glancing at my classmates, who were fidgeting in their seats. The unease was palpable. After 40 more minutes that felt like hours, a soft voice crackled over the intercom. "Maplewood Academy is now safe. You may return to your classrooms." A collective sigh of relief echoed through the room as we slowly stood up. We were free to leave, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. As we walked out into the hallway, I spotted Sarah's older brother, Jason, rushing toward us. "You won't believe what just happened," he said, his eyes wide with adrenaline. "What?" I asked, my heart racing again. "Some kid from our year was missing from class. The teachers were trying to find him, and he freaked out. He started running down the halls and yelling about stabbing everyone." The air around us went still. The gravity of the situation hit me like a tidal wave. "What? Is everyone okay?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah, but it was close," Jason replied, his expression serious. "He was running right by your class. The teachers had to call for a lockdown because he had a knife." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mind raced back to the moments in class, talking, laughing, oblivious to the chaos happening just outside our door. "Did you see him?" Sarah asked, her face pale. "No, thank God. But they managed to get him out before anything happened," Jason said, relief flooding his voice. As we walked outside for our break, the sunny day felt surreal against the heavy weight of what had just occurred. My friends gathered around, their conversations buzzing with nervous energy. "Did you hear? He was right outside our door," Liam exclaimed, the reality hitting hard. I pulled out my phone and started scrolling through the videos we had taken during the lockdown. We were laughing, unaware of the danger lurking just beyond our classroom walls. The fear crept back in as I realized how close we had come to a nightmare. "I can't believe we thought it was a joke," I said, shaking my head. "It wasn't funny at all," Sarah replied, her voice steadying. "We were lucky." The relief mingled with lingering anxiety as we processed the day's events. The lockdown bell would forever echo in my mind, a haunting reminder of how quickly things could turn. As we returned to our classes, I couldn't help but glance over my shoulder, half expecting to see the boy running down the hall again. But all I saw were my friends, their faces a mix of confusion and relief. We were back to normal, or what we pretended was normal, but the bell, the fear, and the silence would always remain with us, a dark shadow hovering just outside the light. As the final bell rang, I left Maplewood Academy, my heart still racing. I could hear the laughter of my friends, but I felt a heaviness in my chest. Maybe next time, we wouldn't be so lucky. It was supposed to be an ordinary day at Pine Ridge High School. Sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the classroom where I sat, half listening to Mr. Jacobs as he droned on about quadratic equations. My mind wandered to the weekend plans with friends, hoping for a little adventure amid the predictable school routine. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket, pulling me from my thoughts. Grandma was calling. She never called during school hours, and a knot formed in my stomach. "Hey, Grandma, what's wrong?" I answered, anxiety creeping into my voice. Her frantic tone sent chills down my spine. "Ella, there's a neighborhood warning. Are you on lockdown? Are you okay?" Confusion clouded my mind as I glanced around the classroom, where my classmates were completely oblivious. "No, Grandma, everything's normal." "What are you talking about?" "Your school got a bomb threat," she shouted, her words sending a wave of panic crashing over me. I looked at Mr. Jacobs, who had noticed my distressed expression. My heart raced as I relayed the news. The classroom erupted into chaos. My teacher quickly took charge, urging everyone to prepare for a lockdown. "Get to the corner, away from the door," he commanded, his voice steady despite the situation. As we huddled together in the dim light, I felt the walls closing in. Fear gripped my heart as I exchanged anxious glances with my friends, Sam and Mia. I thought about the possibility of danger lurking outside, our safety dependent on the chaos unfolding beyond the door. Minutes dragged on, each second stretching into eternity. I checked my phone repeatedly, hoping for updates. My heart raced with every text I received from family and friends, all echoing the same sentiment. "Is everyone okay? What's happening? I'm scared." Suddenly, the intercom crackled to life, sending a chill through me. "Attention, students and staff. We are currently on lockdown. Please remain quiet and stay in your designated safe areas. Further instructions will follow." I squeezed Sam's hand, trying to steady my racing heart. The air felt heavy with tension. As time passed, the reality of our situation settled over me like a dark cloud. My mind spiraled with thoughts of chaos, wondering if this was the day everything changed. A sense of helplessness washed over me. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the intercom announced the lockdown was lifted. "All clear. You may return to your classes or wait for parental pickup." Relief surged through me, but it felt muted as we slowly emerged from our hiding place. The once familiar hallway was now filled with a sense of unease. Other students milled about, some laughing nervously, others staring at their phones with expressions of shock. I rushed to my locker, my heart still pounding. I spotted Grandma's car in the parking lot, a beacon of comfort amid the chaos. As I ran toward it, she enveloped me in a tight embrace, her warmth cutting through the fear that had clung to me all day. "I was so scared, Grandma," I admitted, tears brimming in my eyes. "I know, sweetheart. You were brave," she replied softly. As we drove away, I glanced back at the school, a mix of relief and lingering fear churning in my stomach. I didn't know what had truly happened that day, but I knew that something had shifted. The world outside felt darker, and I was determined to never let my guard down again. Surrounded by my family, I realized the importance of safety and connection. The darkening hallways of Pine Ridge High would forever hold the echoes of that terrifying day. But I also understood the strength of love and resilience that shone brighter than fear.